Hey everybody, producer Carl here from Cheap Smut, and thank you so much for joining us in the second week that we are dipping into the Smutco Industries vault and re-releasing one of our favorite episodes from the first season of Cheap Smut. And this week we have what was our sixth episode, The Pitcher's Assistant by Jessa Kane. And it was a special episode for a variety of reasons. It was the first time that we had a guest on the show, my co-host on my other podcast, Put Me in Coach. And that's kind of why we're actually re-releasing this episode this week, because Put Me in Coach is coming back this week. So we thought it would be a nice way to sort of cross-promote and celebrate and slot this one in. We were going to put this one out again anyway, but we figured, what the heck, we'll do it this week. I'm also in the show notes. If you check it out, there will be a link to Put Me in Coach. And specifically there, I'm going to point out an episode where Katie joined us on an episode of Put Me in Coach. So if you want to see what that's like and hear another familiar voice, in addition to my co-host Matt's voice, you'll be able to hear Katie and feel that sort of comfort, because her voice brings me comfort too, so I hope it brings you some as well. Oh, and also we have this episode also inspired our first bit of BoneCon, or bonus content, wherein we created an episode based on a Reddit post. Somebody read, I think, all 48 Jessa Kane novels. We'll link to that as well in the show notes. And you can go check out the bonus episode, which has all of the magnificent earmarks of what makes a Jessa Kane novel. So thank you very much for joining us. And with that, please enjoy The Pitcher's Assistant. I don't particularly care. Matt likes to burp on our podcast. Do you care if he burps on our podcast?
I don't give a shit. Considering some of the stuff that we get into when we talk about the content of these books, burps is the least of my problems. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheap Smut. My name is Katie Mizell.
And my name is Carl Mizell.
And this is a podcast where I read smutty books and tell my husband about them. It's fantastic.
And I react and respond in real time for your fun and entertainment.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. Today was a good day. It's been a good week. The most adorable thing just happened to me upstairs when I was putting our son to bed.
Oh.
We do this call and response thing every night before I put him to sleep. I give him 3 kisses on the forehead, and then I say, "Good night, buddy." And he says it back. I say, "I love you." He says it back. And I say, "Sweet dreams." And he says it back. But he was already snoring by the time I was done singing the lullaby I sing him every night. And I kissed him and I said, "Good night, buddy." And he said it back in his sleep. He is so trained in doing this call and response every night that he does it whether he's awake or not. It's so fucking cute.
You get him well trained.
Yes.
You get him well programmed. That's adorable. I sometimes wish that I partook in that portion of the bedtime routine, but then whenever I do, I'm like, I'm glad I don't participate in this part of the bedtime routine, especially with our daughter. But
it's my favorite part. The snuggles and the singing and the quiet.
That is nice.
With the older one, he'll tell me just like random crap.
Yep.
He'll just tell me stuff that he thinks I need to know.
Yep.
And it's always half unintelligible because he's got that mushy mouth. I'm sure when he goes to kindergarten, they're going to be like, he needs to go to the speech therapist. And I'm going to be like, probably.
But then I'd argue that he once told me that S is the number purple. So, you know,
S is the letter purple, I believe.
It was all 3 different things. He was completely off base on
S
all
is the
of
number
them.
purple.
Speaking of quiet, we have a special guest who has been very quiet. He's been very quiet, except for that laugh right at the top when you were trying to introduce the show. The laughter that you're hearing in the background comes courtesy of a designer, an artist, an entertainer, an all-around good person, like you said. Before we, recorded, a friend of both of ours and my co-host on our baseball podcast, Put Me in Coach, Matt Coggins. Hi, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me. I've never been a guest on a podcast before. So once you guys started the show, I realized oh shit, should I say something? Should I make any kind of noise whatsoever? I don't know what a guest does.
I think that went just fine. I think.
It's fine. We talked about it at the end of last episode. We made a TikTok about it. It's fine. People know you're coming. So yeah, you and I, we've known each other for, well, as long as I've known Katie, which is almost 15 years.
Mhm.
Off and on. We attended college together for a little bit. And then we just traveled in various circles. And then you and I were just like on Twitter one day. We're like, I want to start a podcast. Me too. And so we did. Why don't you
Yeah.
tell me? So yeah, you're a designer and entertainer, and you're from Michigan, but you're in New York City now, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I grew up around the Flint area. Went to college in Flint, so I've got a lot of Michigan roots. But I've lived in New York now for the past 5 years, and
Ooh, wow.
I've converted into secondary Mets fan because of it. And yeah, I work primarily in theater, which is where I've met these two fine folks, and it's nice to make a career out of it too. And some days it's not. Depends on the day.
I do enjoy your stories.
Yeah.
When you tell me that, I don't want to blow your spot up and potentially get you in trouble. Our luck, there would be one person that works where you work
Yeah.
and hears it,
This
and they
guy's
go,
talking shit about his job.
yeah, fuck that guy. You're fired via first person to get fired via podcast.
I don't think
But
I'd
the
be
reason-
the first. I don't think I'd be the first.
No, probably not.
No, there's too many shitty white men making podcasts.
Yeah, and we're mediocre at worst. At worst. The reason you're here is because the book that the novella that Katie has selected for us this week is a baseball themed smutty book, and we thought it'd be fun to have you on in honor of, because as of record today, yesterday was opening day of Major League Baseball's 2023 season.
Yes.
Big
Yay.
Good for
day.
you.
Yeah, so by the time that this episode drops on Monday, April 3rd, we will have completed our first full weekend of Major League Baseball action, and hopefully the Tigers can overcome the Rays at least once this weekend. But if not, who will really be surprised? You
Fingers
won't.
crossed.
I don't know anything about baseball, so I won't be surprised no matter what happens.
No, but you do know a lot about smut,
I do.
and inexpensive smut at that.
Yes.
And
I was
so
gonna say, this is the thing that we don't know about. Is what's going on
Exactly.
in the book.
that's
I'm here
why.
to educate you both.
And I knew you would love coming. When I asked Matt to come on the podcast, he would have said yes anyway. I know he would have said yes, but he said yes even faster when I was like, "You're gonna love it," because unlike our show, we have zero prep to do for this. We just
Yeah, you guys just have to listen to me talk.
we
That's
just
all.
sit and react to the crazy shit that you're about to tell us from The Pitcher's Assistant by Jessa Kane. So why don't we just
Yes.
fucking get into it?
Well, I just wanted to take one
Oh
quick
yeah, content
moment
warning.
at
Thank you.
the top. Well, first top of the episode. Today is March 31st. It is Trans Day of Visibility, and there are currently 435 legislative measures being taken against our trans brothers and sisters in the United States. So if you have any resources available to donate your time, your money, anything that you can towards helping these people overcome an incredible injustice that is being taken upon them every single day, please do so. I haven't donated anything this year because unfortunately our money is tight. So best I can do is put it out into the world that this podcast is trans positive and trans friendly.
Absolutely, and thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
I did that. That was unplanned. I was not ready for that, so I apologize for stepping on you and be like, "Yeah, the content warning." But I completely second that.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
And
It's okay.
I know Matt thirds it.
I third it.
Yay.
There you go.
So for the actual content warning for this book, daddy kink, a little bit choking. I mean, there's nothing super rough. The most I can say really is amoral and unethical
Okay.
decisions being made in the name of pussy. Like
general toxicity.
Yeah,
it's funny.
general toxicity.
Yeah, choking actually made Matt choke on
Nope.
his beer.
Oops.
I think it might have been the lag. It was mostly about daddy kink, and because
Daddy
I don't
kink,
know what
yes.
daddy kink is. Is
Oh
that-
my God. Okay. So I was gonna ask you before we got into this. So you are married.
correct?
Yes. Do either you or your spouse read romance novels?
As a matter of fact, my wife loves romance novels.
Yes. What does she read? Do you know?
I don't know the titles offhand. I know that it's a lot of the stuff that's on like Kindle Unlimited,
Yep.
like whatever's at the library, the kind
Yeah.
of stuff independent authors, accessible as possible kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And romance and she calls it smut.
Smut.
So I think
Smut.
she'd fit right in here.
Yes, absolutely. She would fit right in. It is smut. It is glorious. It is, for all intents and purposes, it is written pornography. It is how most women and feminine people prefer to consume. Thank you. Their pornography is through the written word, I guess. But it is growing. It's growing as a genre, and men are now much more active in the community, reading and writing. And you guys are always welcome to read something. I encourage you to go and ask for a sample. Just ask her for a sample.
I would totally dive into the Gilded Blood series that we covered.
The Gilded Blood series
last week.
is really, really good.
And you mentioned the hockey one.
Yeah.
I mean, I want you to read that one for the show.
I'm going to.
But
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell you about it. It's the best premise ever for a queer, actually gay hockey smut book. It's gonna be the best. But anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there.
I want
Jessa
to be on
Kane,
that episode too.
Okay, noted.
You can come back. We could totally talk about gay hockey players.
Please.
Noted. So yeah, this is called The Pitcher's Assistant. I've said it about 5 times now, by Jessa Kane.
Yes.
Give us a little background.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to do the exercise that I do every single time I sit down and I read a Jessa Kane book. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and physically yeet the feminism out of your body. Because this is not a feminist book. Sometimes
it's problematic.
It's problematic as fuck. This one
Okay.
is not the most problematic one I have ever read by her or by anyone. But it is problematic. And so Jessa Kane, just to get into it a little bit, I Googled her name earlier this week. I always do with all of our authors, just to make sure that I'm not accidentally supporting someone who does, like terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was in the Googles, I found a couple of pieces of content that really got me thinking about Jessa as a whole, because I've read a lot of her books, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to these people. So Katie Rose 295 on Reddit for their post, I read 46 Jessa Kane novellas in 2 weeks, and here's what I learned. And Books with Samantha on YouTube, who just discusses Jessa Kane and her toxic men.
I want to do an episode on the Reddit thread.
Oh my God, we should. We should.
Maybe that's some as Matt likes to say, we'll do some bone con.
Oh my God, I would love to do some bonus content. I can go find it. I can read it to you guys at the end if you want, or something, or maybe just you and me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I don't want
to monopolize Matt's time because it's his anniversary week.
Happy anniversary to you.
This is the best way to warm up for it,
I think. For sure.
She is going to be very shocked if you try to pull any of the stunts that you're about to
I
hear.
learned some new moves from this book that I heard about.
I would not.
Heard about. So Jessa Kane books, all Jessa Kane books are daddy kink books. Jessa Kane is writing, essentially she's writing the exact same scenario over and over and over again. It is a daddy kink, toxic man, very possessive, controlling. They usually do something really, really stupid. Like in the real world, I would probably sit down with these heroines and be like, honey, maybe you shouldn't keep going out with the guy who hired a dozen bodyguards to follow you around campus.
No.
Like maybe you shouldn't keep seeing the guy who walked into the ocean because you broke up with him after he tried to control what you wear.
Well, first, the 12 security guard thing is alarming, not so much for the toxicity, but for the just poor money management. You could do so much. I mean, that can't be cheap.
For a college campus, you could probably just do 2 or 3 at most.
Yeah, probably.
You don't need a full phalanx of...
But there are a couple things to keep in mind with all Jessa Kane books, including this one. And I know that it's going to make all of us uncomfortable when we talk about it for the first time. So just to get it out there, all of her heroines are between the ages of 18 and 22.
Okay.
Pippa, the lead female in this book, is like 21.
Okay.
And all of the men are significantly older. The secondary kink in these books is always size difference. So he is always very large and she is always tiny. So just keeping that in mind, they are all over 18, but this is a very specific kink we are dealing in.
Okay.
And part of the fantasy is a small woman and a large man.
You still have time to bail on this episode if you want.
I don't want to cast too many aspersions on the author. Like, obviously they are putting art out into the world, but
Yep.
I have to ask, on the average book, how much do you kind of apply these kinks to what you believe the author might be personally into? Because this seems like a very specific thing.
It's very specific. And with Jessa Kane, if I had to guess, would say that she or he, because most authors, even if the name is female, a lot of romance authors are not women. Yeah. Or they're like, there's a fantastic author named Tiffany Roberts, who is actually a husband and wife team who write together. It's probably a very specific kink to Jessa, I'm guessing, or to the audience that Jessa writes for. But it's a safe way to experience that kink. In this case, it's a very specific sub kink. It's called DDLG, means Dom Daddy Little Girl. Not little girl like pedophilia, little girl like I'm going to take care of you. You're my little girl, but also I'm going to fuck the shit out of you. It can make people uncomfortable. It really can, and I understand why. But we have to remember that in the world of kink, the actual human world of kink, anything is on the table as long as consent is applied and discussed in advance. So stuff that would make us freak out and go, ew, you should see a therapist. This is how they get that therapy, because you know, you can't always go to a therapist and be like, I want to put on diapers or whatever it is that they do. This is not a diapering book. But
and that's a frequent conversation that we have, and I'm sure you've had it at many points. I mean, given your theater background, is that, you know, this is a safe way to explore these topics that are not necessarily safe to explore in the real world. So with all that said and out of the way.
All of that said, yes, let's get into it. Okay. Heroine in this book is a woman named Pippa Weinstock. She is a recent college graduate. Like I said, she's 21 years old, and she loves baseball. She's loved it since she was a child. Considered a very wholesome, all-American, gentle sport. And she loves it so much that she decided that she was going to become a journalist, a sports journalist, so that she could be as close to the action as possible. And this is her first day on the job. She is working as an intern for a famous sports writer named Randy Carville or something. And she is going into the Astros locker room to interview the players post-game. Locker room? Clubhouse.
Yeah, that is the preferred nomenclature.
So she goes into their clubhouse. I'm actually really surprised that the Astros were named in this book, because usually in sports romances, if they are professional, like Big Four sports, like athletes, they don't name a team.
She couldn't have picked a better team, because this kind of shit would go on around the Astros, I think.
Yeah, from everything we've covered about them, it's sort of like, I mean, this would be probably a minor case in the Astros clubhouse.
We'd never hear about this.
No, probably not. But anyway, so she's going into the Astros clubhouse. She is small and innocent, so innocent. Let's just get that out of the way right now. Innocent to the point of naivete. And when she walks in there, she sees a bunch of naked, half naked, partially naked men, and she just flips around and she's like, "Sir, can you please tell them that a lady is present?"
I'm sure that's going to go well.
And her boss is like, "You want to be a sports reporter, you're going to have to get used to being in a locker room with like half naked dudes. I'm sorry."
She just walks in, dicks.
And it's like dudes walking by and like just their jocks and stuff.
No one does that. Just so everybody knows.
What the fuck? I've never been in a men's locker room, so
I played multiple sports.
The TV cameras are usually in there, at least after the game, so they can't be completely naked.
No, but I mean, like in our, like when we're just in between, like kicking it, kicking it in the locker room or the clubhouse, we're not walking around in just jocks and nothing else. No one does that. Just so everybody knows.
No, the ones where your butt hangs out the back.
I just walk around with my ass hanging out
all the time. So she girds her loins to turn around and start to do her job, but she never has to turn around because she is told not to turn around by the called the MMC, or the male main character. I'm not going to call him a hero because he's not heroic. Cort Mulloy Astros all-star pitcher. He's taciturn, grumpy, and famously antisocial. He has never given an interview in his
Whoa.
career.
Think about that.
Can I just pause and say, great
Please.
baseball name. Great baseball.
Oh, Cort
Right.
Mulloy. Yes.
Isn't
That's
it?
really good.
It sounds like he sounds like he would play for the Astros, but like
Yep.
when they wore those like tequila sunrise jerseys, the nuclear popsicle ones, you know, with the multiple colors, like back
Yeah.
in the 80s.
The old school guy.
Yeah.
Old school. Yeah. So he's currently in a slump. He is in he's been in a slump since the beginning of the season, but he is an all-star. He is a legend, and he is a legend because this is the only baseball fact in the entire book. So enjoy, boys. He broke the record for shutouts before the age of 33.
That is a that is a hyper specific record.
It is, and it's so hyper specific because I googled this. The previous career record for shutouts was held by a man named Walter Johnson with a total of 110 career shutouts. He retired in 1927.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Yep. That's why
this very fictional man is breaking a very fictional record at this
the
point.
the very fictional well, no, it's a very real record. Walter Big Train Johnson was a real person.
Walter what?
Big Train.
Big Train?
Yeah.
Oh,
Big Train.
He
I
said
love
big chain,
that.
and that meant
I thought
something
he did
very
too.
different in my ears.
No, Walter Big Train Johnson. But this is one of the questions you asked me in preparation for this, which is like something about breaking records. Now that I know what the record is, this is a record that will never be broken.
Oh, yeah, probably not.
IRL. This
Yeah.
will never be broken because baseball is not played the way it was played 100 years ago. So if anybody out there is listening and is like, oh, good for Cort, it's bullshit. There's no way that a modern pitcher would ever break that. If a pitcher gets one shutout in a season, it's a big deal these days.
Oh.
2, oh man, I think like league leaders get what, like 3 a year, 4 a year nowadays, because they
But
don't
even
pitch.
say a shutout would mean a full 9-inning game pitched, right? Which
Exactly.
starters just don't do anymore.
Which is also bullshit in terms of the actual functionality of the book because Cort is a closer.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
That's all right.
We don't have to know about sports. We're
Nope.
not here for sports.
Yeah,
we're
we're
here
just-
for hard
Yep.
dicks.
You know, it's exactly it. I as soon as I was like, well, actually, baseball, and I was like, no, we're here for the cocks. Let's go.
So Cort just demands that the rest of his team put their clothes on. You just get dressed. And they do because everyone listens to Cort Mulloy for some reason. And then he tells her that she's never going to have to worry about seeing a naked man ever again because she's not working for Randy Carville anymore. She's working for him now. He's gonna. I'm fucking serious when I say that these men are toxic. I mean it.
You work for me now.
Exactly. Fuck your dreams. Fuck your needs.
How's that work
work-
from
you
a
work for me
from
now.
an employment status perspective? Because it's like, well, I signed a W-4 with
I was
this
gonna say,
other guy.
is this an I-9 thing? Do I under the table?
Yeah.
Do I get
So-
benefits with you too? Or?
Well, there are benefits. I just don't know if they're the ones she's looking for. Dental?
in some form, yes.
Do you mean oral?
No, dental.
No, dental. So he says that he will pay her quadruple whatever it is that she is being paid for her internship, and he will give her his first exclusive interview if she will come and be his assistant. It's the only job he can think of. It's the only job he can think of that she could possibly like qualify for. You're my assistant now. And he will literally launch her career and make her financially comfortable as long as she works for him and comes home with him immediately.
Yeah, this sounds A, like terrible idea,
Yes.
but B, wildly just improbable. But okay, let's go.
You know, I don't know what the Astros clubhouse is like, but I know at my job, we every year have to do a seminar where they teach us that a quid pro quo, which is what that sounds like, is very, very against the law. So
Oh, hell yes.
I don't know what
This is all
what
ethical.
Yeah, I don't think Jim Crane, owner of the real life Astros, I think he's got enough on his plate. I think he's had enough shit to go through in the last couple of years. He doesn't need this.
No. No, absolutely not. But she agrees, and she agrees because, as is always the case in a Jessa Kane book, on looking upon this man, she is getting horny for the first time in her life. She's like, what's going on with my body? Why do I feel all hot and bothered? Am I all right? What is going on right now? Like, she understands physical anatomy. She's never had sex. She is a virgin, and she's never been horny.
I feel
Not
that
once.
I mean, I felt that way the first time I saw Matt Olson, but
who is Matt Olson, and do I need to be worried?
Matt Olson is the guy that was on. I was watching some video of baseball highlights on YouTube, and he was on the screen when you asked, "Are all baseball players ridiculously handsome?"
Oh. Honestly, I don't remember what that guy looks like now.
Well, I'll put it up on the socials. I'll find a good picture of Mr. Olson so everybody can understand. I'd say I think in my personal bisexual opinion, he's probably the best looking baseball player. But I mean,
he's pretty. He plays for the Braves though, so
I know. But he was with Oakland for a long time. But anyway.
He also, during this initial conversation, calls her little girl for the first time, and she just like panty meltingly. She's so into it, and she doesn't understand why. So they drive to his house. Like, next chapter, she's in his truck. They're driving to his secluded ranch in Texas with a man she has just met.
Yeah.
Making bad choices all the way around, Pippa. But while they're on their way, she's like staring out the window and contemplating. She's wondering, why Cort is more interested in her pleasure than his own. Don't worry about that one.
Go with it.
And 2, why she gets tingles in her down there every time he calls her little girl, and why she's so comfortable with the power dynamic of being dommed, even though she has literally no idea.
So she's questioning this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at least we got that going for us.
When they get to his house, he opens the door for her. He undoes her seatbelt. This is shockingly sexy. Undoing her seatbelt is and he carries her inside his like giant rich guy house. Yeah, I'm serious. He gets her up to the front porch. He takes her top off. She just like titties to the wind. They have this super hot makeout, but she pushes him back. She's like, I'm here to get an interview.
This is it.
Hey, the job is the most important part.
Seriously.
Right? Hey, anything for a scoop. Am I right? Anything for a scoop. I'm kidding. That is wildly unethical. Don't do that.
I imagine she's doing the baby voice the whole time too.
Oh,
up
God.
until the moment where she goes, "Okay, interview now."
Interview now.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's specifically baby voice. Like, it's not really mentioned, but because her female characters are always so small, I just imagine they have really high pitched.
Yeah. Are you proud of your accomplishments?
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Oh. So he goes inside his house. He's got this like fuck off rich guy house. He owns this big ranch with a bunch of land, and he takes her out to the backyard and immediately gets naked. He's like, if you want to get this interview, you're gonna have to do it while I'm in the hot tub because it's post game, and I'm like I'm in recovery now.
I threw 1 inning. I'm exhausted.
Those 3 batters I faced in that shutout were really really drained me.
Now it's your turn.
At some no, why'd you do that? At some point during this chapter, she calls this is a new segment I would like to include in this show from now on. And Matt, welcome to the very first edition of That's a Weird Thing to Call a Dick, because instead of just calling it his dick, she calls it the thick root of his manhood.
Wow. Wow. Now listen, points for creativity, but I have never once not once looked at my dick and thought root.
It's a very common one. It's a common one. Root or trunk are 2 really common ones in in romance world, because we don't always use the words, the actual dirty words, like I said last week.
It would get a little plain if you have to say penis every time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's usually
clinical.
It's usually cock or dick.
Yeah.
Pussy or cunt. But in romance novels, even though we're talking about some of the filthiest shit that people can do to each other, we just don't use the words. We use other words for whatever reason. That is starting to go away.
Thank God.
Some modern contemporary romances, they just do away with that now. But
Steely length.
Length is so common. So common. Or they'll describe it as like a dick is like steel wrapped in velvet or something really fucking weird like that.
Oh God.
It's so strange. So back to our story. In the hot tub, they get in the hot tub together. Pippa strips down to just her panties, and again with the little girl stuff, she's wearing like a tiny little pair of white underwear with a little white or little pink rosebud stitched right onto the front.
Naturally.
Which is literally underwear I owned when I was like 7. So, but we're not going to get too into that. They decide to do this interview with her straddling him. Super professional.
Like you do.
Yeah.
No recording device, no notes.
I remember the time Bob Costas straddled Dave Stewart after the 89 World Series. Best fucking interview I've ever seen. Just right into each other's eyes.
This interview, while being just, super unethical and really horny, is also really deep. So Cort tells her that he was raised by a foster father, that his foster father is the one who fostered the love of pitching in him, that he would, after they did all their choring on the ranch every day, they'd go to the barn and he'd throw balls for hours. And his foster father is the one who finally convinced him to go out for an open tryout for the Astros. And boom, he's an all-star pitcher.
Wow.
Yeah. No minor leagues.
No, nothing.
Straight to being an Astro.
Does this take place in contemporary times?
No. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean,
it's not like they give a time frame. It's just that nebulous time that books sometimes take place in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I know what you're driving at, Matt, which is like back in the olden days, maybe.
And back in the olden days, I could imagine a very important closing pitcher pulling this thing with a reporter, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
Well, back in the olden days, a female reporter wouldn't have existed. So,
yeah.
No, I meant more
point.
like you. That is not how professional baseball players become professional baseball players. You're either drafted out of high school or college, or if you're from another country, you are signed from the international pool. You do not just go try out.
I don't think they have those. Yeah.
No, they technically do. If you go to any Major League Baseball team's website and look, they will tell you they have tryout information, and they will show you who has tried out, and they'll give them like their 20 to 80 grades. And it's always a bunch of dudes that are like arm strength 30, like not very good. I'm just presenting this as a little bit of color for how it would actually go IRL.
Okay. Well,
okay. You just patted me on the head with that. Okay.
We moved past that a long time ago.
In this world, Cort Mulloy was a farm boy who showed up to an open tryout and became an all-star closer.
Like
An
Sid
orphan.
Finch.
An orphan.
Yes.
Orphan farm boy becomes an all-star pitcher. Okay, I'm in. Let's go.
All right. So the interview ends with him saying that the reason that he is in his slump now is because his foster father passed away.
Aw.
Yeah, it's sad. And then he fingers her. So it's not sad for long.
And the slump was over.
A little grief-induced finger banging will do you good. Jesus, I'm gonna try that move.
I've had 2 babies. I can't laugh this hard without pissing a little. Okay. So he fingers her. She calls him daddy, and then she asks, like, it's completely spontaneous. She calls him daddy, and then she asks if it's wrong that she did that. And he tells her that he's never been in a kink relationship before, but anything that feels this good can't possibly be bad.
All right.
She experiences her first orgasm. I wrote here, Pippa is eager and sensitive as only a romance heroine can be. Her first orgasm is, no surprise, completely revelatory. The dirty talk in this scene is also top notch. Jessa Kane writes great dirty talk if you guys are ever like wondering how to talk to your wives in bed.
No, I think I'm pretty good. Or am I finding this out?
No, I am not talking about that on our podcast. No.
Okay. Matt, go get your wife.
She'll be so pissed. Okay, so that scene's over. She has not She worries that she has not properly assessed this situation. Go fucking figure,
No
Pippa.
shit.
And that Cort will leave her once they've had sex, and he won't care anymore. So instead of continuing with the sex acts, she asks to go back to the interview instead. So I think they put clothes on. I'm not entirely clear on whether they put their clothes back on. They go back inside of his house, and she asks for a tour. And he takes her down into his basement, uh, where he has a full-size baseball diamond.
In the
Wow.
basement?
Yeah, in the
In the
basement.
basement.
It's not. He says it's not quite full-sized, but the distance from the mound to home plate is correct.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's only 60 feet 6 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has like a batting cage and everything because he also hits.
Sure. In
Fuck
the
it.
American League team, the Astros,
Yeah.
their
Yep.
closing pitcher should absolutely hit.
Yeah.
Totally.
So she asks him about his hitting, and here's another little baseball fact to make you guys' brains explode. He has the best batting average for a closer in history.
Well, that's a very
I
low
don't-
bar to clear.
I don't really know what exactly that would be, but Cort Mulloy, all-around fantastic player, all-star closer with the best batting average in baseball.
I see Matt's got his research face on.
Looking it up.
Please do.
I need to know. I really hope it's Willie Hernandez. I really do. It's probably not though.
Well, here's the thing. They only rank him for ERAs.
Because they
So-
don't hit normally. But in this world, let's just go with it. Let's
Sure.
just assume
Yeah.
that he's the proto Shohei.
Protohei.
Protohei.
So she asks another question. I can't remember what it is. It's not important. And then he offers to give her one more question if she'll kiss him. It's like this epically hot kiss. And she asks who, if anyone, he does not like pitching against. And he says the fuckwad cowards who lean into his breaking ball because they're too afraid to hit it. So enjoy that baseball thing, boys.
Sure.
I've leaned into several curveballs. I don't give a shit.
He tries to get down and dirty, and she sidesteps it by asking if she can use the batting cage, because historically she tried to play baseball as a child and she quit after losing the bat for the third time and concussing the third kid. Like, she's just really bad at it.
You got to get some pine tar in that thing.
So he takes her into the batting cage. They do that, rom-com movie thing where he holds her from behind and helps her hit.
Yep.
And she hits her first ever ball. She makes perfect contact. He adjusts her stance and stuff. It's wonderful. And in celebration, he eats her out on home plate.
Oh, great.
Again.
This interview is going so well.
So good,
This is
right?
the best interview ever. It's going very well. But again, I want to see this IRL. I want to see Juan Soto just mash a massive home run and then come home and then one of his teammates blow him.
Oh my God. I would pay money. I would pay real money to see that happen.
Yeah.
So he eats her out on home plate, which is just the most incredible visual image to me, for I don't know why, just whatever reason. I think it's hilarious. And then then they have sex, and she's literally coming the entire time he's fucking her. Not a thing I think the human body can do necessarily.
Sounds like another record that Cort Mulloy is setting. Longest continuous orgasm given to a intern
By a closing pitcher.
by closing pitcher before the age of 33.
He's 33 now, so before the age of 44, I guess.
There you go.
That night, she takes a nap.
But I should
I can't
fucking hope so.
Yeah, she would take a
She's
nap. But
exhausted.
Cort can't sleep, so he makes some sandwiches. He brings them up. They sort of eat in bed, and they have this cute little conversation. It is a romance. We are trying to build a little bit of actual relationship growth into 43 pages, when half of
Yeah.
them are sex. So she asks him if he tried to find his birth parents. He said yes, but they didn't want to, because it's like, when you do like a closed adoption, it has to be a two-sided inquiry. So if the other party hasn't made the inquiry, you'll never meet them. And then he said that's probably better that they didn't, because he's rich now and he never knows what people want from him he just assumes everyone just wants money from him.
Very valid concern.
Yes.
He didn't seem as concerned when he took this small woman home. Though.
No, he didn't. He did not seem at all concerned about giving her as much money as necessary.
I was gonna say, I mean, he had no. I'm sure the vetting process that he went through in his brain for all of 10 seconds did not include legal fees.
Well, it doesn't. So she tells him that she feels bad that she is one of those people now because he's given her money to do something, and he tells her that she can use him financially as much as she wants as long as she stays with him forever. I know, it's so healthy. You guys, this relationship is so strong and it's built on a great foundation.
I'm really glad you set us up at the beginning to let us know, because we always make it a point here, Matt, to point out that we're taking the piss sort of, but we're never like mocking or making fun of any of this. That said, wow,
yes,
this is wildly toxic.
Oh God, this is again not the worst one.
Relationship.
Not the worst one. Jessa Kane. No, we're not getting into that. We can talk about that later if we want. We're going to finish this story first. So they fuck again. Because of course they do. Pippa learns to ride. Good for her. They're spanking, daddy talk, and Pippa discovers the glory of the G-spot. Good for her.
No.
Oh, that's so
nice.
Did
she need to? She's already come so much.
I know. Well, technically she's only come twice so far.
But for
so long.
So long.
Yeah. But everybody needs to discover the G-spot.
Yeah.
Everybody. It's fun for the whole team. So they go to sleep. The next morning, Pippa wakes up alone because Cort has already had to go to the stadium to do whatever he does before a game. It's game day again. Because athletes play several days in a row, sometimes twice in one day. I don't understand it, you people.
Not closers usually.
No, usually they're unavailable after usually they don't pitch for at least 2 days after they threw one inning.
Oh, I don't know if Cort threw the previous day.
No, he might not have.
I don't know. I know that he's throwing today though.
Right.
Okay.
But you do.
And they know that in advance of the game.
Yeah.
They know that they're going to be up by at least 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. And they're going to need their closer to get the save. They already know that. Wow, Jessa Kane is breaking it wide open. MLB,
to put
predetermined.
it in perspective, the Mets have a closer named Edwin Diaz who has a little theme song, and they hired the guy that plays the theme song to play it live.
I love Timmy Trumpet.
Narco.
Narco is one of Felix, our son's favorite songs.
Yep.
Hell yeah. But so when Timmy Trumpet came to Citi Field, the Mets weren't in a safe situation, so Diaz didn't come out. And so they're like, do you want to come back tomorrow? And then he did play. But it's one of those things that you can't really predict when a closer's going to come pitch.
No. But on the plus side, as Kate mentioned, baseball players, Major League Baseball teams play 162 games a year. The next closest would be the NBA and the NHL both play 82.
Okay.
And then the NFL plays 17.
But that's
a lot of games.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Football. That makes sense. Once a week.
Yeah.
It's harder on the body.
Way
harder on the
brain.
brain.
Way harder on the body.
Well, then you got the playoffs and the Super Bowl and all of that.
Oh, yeah. The superb
I don't know why I'm
superb owl.
Out of all of this, I'm so hung up on the closer thing.
No,
because
if
he was a starter, it'd make more sense.
It goes completely contrary to everything you and I understand.
Yeah.
But this is not. We are strangers in a strange land right now. We have to just sort of go with it.
Oh, yeah. Welcome. Allow me to show you around. It gets so much weirder.
Let's do it.
So she wakes up. She's got a note from Cort on her pillow that says that he has hired a car to take her to the stadium, and he's gotten her a ticket in, I call it the WAG box. I don't actually know what it's called, but I just think of it as the WAG box because that's how I know it from several hockey romances that I've read.
They do have a wives and girlfriends section.
Yeah. So
that was an acronym.
Sorry, WAGs. Yeah, Wives and Girlfriends. There's a fantastic book that I read, a series of books that I read, Him, Us, and Epic. It's a another gay hockey romance, where one of the guys is the first husband in the WAG box. It's kind of cute. That was a really
I can't wait to hear about that one too.
Oh, I could read that for you as well, or I'll just tell you about it. I've read it 3 times. It's really good.
Nice. In light of everything going around with the NHL and like
Yeah.
being super anti-LGBT, that
Yeah.
could be very
Yeah.
healthy for have them learn about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, real quick, just as an aside, the one that we were talking about earlier, it's about two dudes on the same team who hook up before a game and they win, and so because they're such superstitious hockey players, they feel like they have to do the same exact thing before every game so they continue to win. I can't wait to hear it. All right, please continue on this podcast.
Podcast for the story we're currently telling.
Yeah.
So she
Baseball.
while she's getting ready, she turns on the TV and she sees a couple of like ESPN talking heads talking about Cort and his season-long slump, and she decides that she doesn't want to be one of those people who is talking about him in the press. So she's going to scrap the interview. And she will make her career for herself. She's not going to take advantage of this situation to build her career any other way. And because this is a Jessa Kane book, the one thing I will say for these men is that as toxic as they are, they're always very supportive of their ladies. So he'll support her in all of this and all of her choices. She rushes to the stadium and she decides that she's not going to go to the box as her ticket says. She's going to go down to the stands right by the bullpen. And Cort sees her and he pulls her into the bullpen over the rail into the bullpen. She tells him that she loves him. He tells her that he loves her right back because they've known each other for less than 24 hours. But this is romance world.
Yep.
Okay.
And the whole stadium erupts when they kiss. Like the whole thing. A big epic romance moment that is completely unearned in this case. And that day, Cort's slump officially ends because someone in the
Yay.
stadium loves him again. Good for Cort.
Good for Cort.
I'm going to add another picture. So in addition to the picture of Matt Olson, I'm going to add a picture of the bullpens at Minute Maid Park in Houston so we can get a real good mental picture. I'm being dead serious. Like, so
13 feet up in the air,
Yeah.
right? That he
Yeah.
had to reach up and grab a human being and bring them down.
Yep. I want people to understand how ridiculous this actually would look in real life. I love it. I'm a sucker for. I love. I mean, Bull Durham's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a great romance, it buried in all the baseball. So I get it, but that's just wildly impractical and so high.
Oh yeah, I mean, she probably should have just jumped or something. But
Yeah.
that information is not necessary in romance world. All we need to know is that he pulled her over the rail and kissed her while he spun around in a circle and told her that he loved her, and the whole stadium went fucking wild. That's all we need to know.
I don't care how far off the ground that is. What's his dick look like?
Large and in charge.
There you go.
You know, there was a proposal at Dodger Stadium the other day where the guy ran out onto the field, got down on a knee, put the ring out, and the girl was like, "Oh my God, yes, yes, oh my God!" And right as he was standing up to hopefully jump back into the stands, I don't know, security guard just absolutely obliterates him, tackles him on the ground. He's still on his knees, so he.
Oh my
he just
God,
gets fucked.
that's awful.
He got
Imagine
trucked.
That's how it would go in real life, probably.
Well, I
Cort
mean,
plays there, so I don't know.
Cort, I was gonna say,
Exactly.
Cort is in this world established as being the like most important man on the team and
Yeah.
gets away with whatever he
Absolutely.
wants.
Back up. That's Cort's love of his life he met yesterday.
Case in point, there is an epilogue. There's always an epilogue
Good.
in every Jessa Kane book. 1 year later, Cort fucks Pippa in the private room that he requires in order to do this exact thing before every game. Because this is his superstition. He needs to have sex with his wife on the property
Oh, they got married.
right before the game. Yes, they got married. Of course,
Okay.
they got married.
Put
It's
a ring on
it's
it.
his pregame ritual now. They have just dirty, filthy sex in a room that is specifically for Cort to have sex with his wife in.
Yeah.
Because it's just required.
All right.
Right, just right in his contract. It's got the fuck room.
Janitorial hates going to clean Cort's fuck hut.
Yuck.
So she
Yuck.
went from having aspirations of being a baseball journalist to just sex worker for a closing pitcher, I guess. Married.
No.
locked
So
down.
there's a 5 years later as well.
Oh, good.
Pippa and Cort now have 2 children.
Okay.
Because that's always how Jessa Kane books ends. They always have kids almost immediately. And 1 year after his retirement from baseball, he is now being inducted into the Hall of Fame. At the presser, he looks out to his wife, who is in the crowd of reporters because she is also a reporter
Oh, so she still is
reporting on this.
Okay.
Reporting on his
She went
induction
back
into
to
the Hall of
work.
Fame. She did.
That seems like a conflict of interest.
Why? I mean, she doesn't cover him.
Oh, that's fair. All right, never mind.
I'm sure a sports journalist could be married to an athlete. That's
Cooperstown.
Yeah, okay.
something else.
All right.
Anything else. Maybe she covers the National League.
No, she covers him all right.
So as Cort is looking down, he probably gets an erection or something and is just loving his wife in this like big halo of light. That's how these books always end. These men are toxic as fuck. They make terrible choices, but they love their ladies.
Yeah.
Dedicated, obsessive, to the point, like I said, was gonna say earlier, but I stopped myself. Jessa Kane wrote a whole series of stalker books about men who stalk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a very
it's-
popular Netflix series, You.
Actually, stalker romances are huge on Book Talk, which I'm just now really getting into. There's a really popular dark romance called Haunting Adeline, which is about a guy stalking the woman, and they end up together. They always do. But dark romances and books like this, which Jessa Kane books aren't necessarily dark romances, maybe more like a Heather Gray sort of romance.
Pastel black.
Pastel black, yeah. This isn't black, this is dark charcoal heather.
It's your best Brett Goldstein impression.
I can't do a Brett Goldstein impression to save my life. Although I will say that Brett Goldstein is who I pictured for Cort Mulloy.
Okay.
In case, specifically Roy Kent.
Yeah.
Growly, angry, but sweet.
But that's kind of your thing anyway.
It really is.
Hi, I'm her husband.
Hi.
Let's say he might be a little short to reach over that 13-foot wall.
Yeah, I don't know. He does strike me as being like maybe like 5'10" I don't know. For me, 5'9", but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. So that is the end of our book. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me.
Well, and we were all happy to come on this journey, but not nearly as much as Pippa.
Oh yeah, nobody was as happy as Pippa was through this entire book.
I because of the way my brain works, it's going to drive me nuts unless I point it out. Cort Mulloy would not be inducted into the Hall of Fame 1 year after he finished his career. You have to wait 5 years from the end of your career. Again, I'm just pointing that out as color for you folks out there who might not be baseball fans.
They did a 5 years later. They could have just been like, he retired that year and then 5 years later got inducted.
Let me double check.
Yeah, I mean maybe we were a little off on that. Maybe we were just trying to like figure out some stuff in our heads and we kind of missed that sort of thing. But yeah, no, again, normally you'd have to wait 5 years. I think that
only 1 year after retirement, I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
He's
there
just
have
that good.
there have been
I
exceptions.
cannot stress how much the details do not matter in a book like this.
I am fully aware. I know that this detail does not matter. I am simply trying to, again, use my baseball knowledge to paint a little picture for the listeners who might be not as baseball savvy as Matt and myself. I do believe Roberto Clemente was inducted less than a year after, but he died very tragically in a plane crash delivering aid to I can't remember if it was Dominican or Puerto Rico, but he very famously died and was inducted almost immediately. And there might be another couple ones as well, but yes, I am fully aware. Details don't. He's no Cort Mulloy. No, fuck no.
There's only one Cort Mulloy.
And by the sounds of it, thank God.
I'm happy that Pippa eventually became a career woman. Like after all of that, she kind of traded tricks and worked this thing. Then that kind of happened. But you know what? At the end of the story, she's got a job. She's doing what she wanted to do when she set out. And the journey there didn't really matter.
No, it didn't. It was the journey to find love, not the journey to get a job, really, at the end of the day. She, as all Jessa Kane's female leads do, has a dedication in her life outside of the man that she's sleeping with, and she accomplishes that goal. How she got there is not really important. It's always usually in the epilogue,
right?
But it's wonderful either way. I mean, again, this is a very compact fantasy.
Oh yeah, no, it went fast.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
They go so fast, especially when half the book is sex, and I'm not gonna like read all the dirty stuff on the show. You just sort of skip over that part. That then he fingers her is actually 3 pages to 5 pages of material.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
Oh.
Show off. Fingering for 5 pages worth of time.
It's all about like hyper descriptive physical feelings and emotions take a long time
Yeah,
to actually put on a page and like get
no,
through.
no.
So
No, absolutely. I could never do what these writers do. I know it. I mean, I could write. I have written, but this type of material, I just couldn't do it. I mean, me personally, man, give it a go. Wow, this is the storms that were blowing in
Yeah.
over the lake.
Yeah,
We
there's
got
lightning and
thunder
thunder
and
now.
lightning
Ooh.
coming through here, and I was like, oh no, what if the power goes out? And it's on a laptop. Everything's running off the laptop. So
Yeah,
we're at
no,
the
we're
end of our
fine.
episode anyway. So
We're safe.
we'll be totally fine. And we are at the end of the episode.
We are.
And thank you so much for being our first guest.
Absolutely. This was so fun. This is such a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and we'll do it. We'll do like an exchange, like a podcast exchange program where
I'll come on your show. Yeah.
she'll come on the show,
Absolutely.
and we'll figure out a reason for you to. We don't need a reason, but we'll figure out some angle to bring you in on.
Me too.
We're going to put Cort Mulloy in MLB The Show and sim his whole career and see how many of those shutouts.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have.
Yeah,
Please do. Please sim Cort Mulloy. That's hilarious.
I'll get right on that as soon as we're done.
So that's all I have for our story today. Is there anything else that you guys want to discuss with regards to the story, or any questions about?
I mean, I've got so many questions, but
Well, just ask one then.
No,
No?
that's fine.
Okay.
Matt, do you have anything you wanna contribute or add before we put the bow on this bad boy?
No, I'm good. I appreciate that. I feel so informed now. I feel,
Oh. Yeah, if if you have the time, go back and listen to our episodes on Baby and the Late Night Howlers, and you'll learn all about the alpha, beta, omega trope, which started with the Winchesters in Supernatural, didn't it?
Yeah,
And
it was originally a fan fiction prompt
Yeah.
for Supernatural fan fiction, and now it is its entire own subgenre or trope in romance world.
And it's not what you think.
It's not.
It's not like, oh, this guy's an alpha, this guy's a beta. No, male alphas have fist-sized flesh knots at the base of their penis. Yeah, that's what
Your
I.
face.
That's the look I made.
Ask your wife if she's ever read an Omegaverse novel.
Yep.
That's the first question I'm asking.
I want to know what she reads. I really do.
I will. I'll talk to him and we'll find out.
Yay. Okay.
Get
But
the list.
yeah,
There's so much that it could be just about anything, but I love it all. So I just want to know.
if
Yeah.
you're curious to know what Matt and I do vis-a-vis the podcasting world, you can find our podcast. It's called Put Me In Coach. It's on all the podcasting platforms. It comes out weekly. Matt does an amazing job of getting that thing turned around every week. He handles the productions on that podcast while I handle the production on this podcast. Does great work with the Bone Con, all sorts of stuff. And it's a blast. So if you're curious about baseball, we try to keep it very stat light, and we try to focus more on the sport and the
Yeah.
fun and the stories of it. What do you think about it, Matt?
It's newcomer to baseball friendly. Like I like to say, it's like we're baseball fans, but if you're new to baseball, we're trying to make you a baseball fan. So we're not going to get too in the weeds on anything. We want anybody to feel like they can listen and appreciate the sport as much as we do.
Yeah, and Katie, you do listen.
I do. I listen every week.
Yep.
Hell
And you
I
said
just listened to your new episode today.
yeah, and she said it was really
It
she said
was.
one of our better episodes.
was really good.
We're getting in there. We're getting into the groove. So, dude, thank you so much. Have a wonderful anniversary. I'm not going to pester
Thank
you
you.
with any weird Reddit links. All
That's your
weekend.
Bone Con.
That's yeah. Exactly. So I'll handle it. Don't you worry about that. Go have some fun. Thank you so much for joining us. Katie, you want to put this bad boy to bed?
Absolutely. First of all, next week,
Oh, that's right.
as our teaser, next week, I am reading the fantastic, because I've already started it, Latte Darling by S.J. Tilley. That's where we're going to talk about what a daddy kink looks like when it's not a toxic situation.
No.
Because it's going to be some similar content.
Well, good. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
But I specifically picked this book, which is, I believe, the second book in the Lake Darling series by S.J. Tilley, because of its primary trope. Its primary trope is age gap. So we're going to be talking about age gaps next week. But just to clear any gross feelings that anybody has about this one, our heroine is 31. So it won't feel so creepy.
Be kind of like our age gap.
Yes, a little
Okay.
bit.
10 years.
Yes. But in the meantime, I've had a wonderful time and I'm really glad that we are done now because I want to go sit down and play video games. And you, listener out there, if you've got a book in you, write it, and if there's fucking in it, I'll read it.
And then she'll come on this podcast and explain it to me for your entertainment.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.